I am launching the Melody Manager brand, which is executive support for purpose-driven female founders and leaders and entrepreneurs. Sometimes it's all in the same, sometimes it's meant people can be many things or one thing. But really for people who are trying to do something on a different scale and they need a support, they need like a back end support. They need a work wife who's got their back. That's what I'm trying to build. I'm trying to build collaborative work relationships, not just relationships where somebody is going to be the doer and somebody is going to be the task delegator. Because in theory, that sounds really great, but delegating is really hard, especially for women. This is something I've wanted to do for 3 years. I actually created the website 3 years ago. I did all of the work 3 years ago, and I never launched it because I felt like Home Service VA, our flagship company, needed to be like a certain size or it needed to be perfect. Businesses change all the time. It'll never be perfect. I knew all along it would never be perfect, but I just needed a little bit perfecter. Really, I wasn't ready. I had a lot of insecurity and I still do about working with women are 50% of the population. Don't quote me on that, but we're around there. Somehow that feels like I'm boxing myself in, even though it's what I want. So there's all these excuses and reasons why we don't do things. This is the action I'm taking. I'm coming on here. I'm not preparing for these. I'm just going to be off the cuff. I'm going to be talking about a topic. I'm going to be answering questions if questions come up. So if you are watching and you have any questions, let me know about virtual assistants, but specifically about executive support. If you're a business owner who has always wanted to have an executive assistant or some sort of assistant who's going to be helping you so that you can be elevated into the role that you should be, the work that you should be doing, you should probably need an executive assistant, but it really feels daunting at first. Also, if you're like me, having an executive assistant sounds really bougie. And I've always felt like, wow, really fancy people have executive assistants. But actually, people like me who have executive functioning issues, who have weaker executive functioning skills, stronger, like creative visionary skills and builder skills, I need that executive support. We need to have somebody who has stronger executive support skills to be able to fully be ourselves, fully be aligned in the vision, and fully focus our attention on what we're supposed to be building in this world. And I wanted to talk about project management today. This is for anybody who has a company. If you have projects that you do in your company, I'm going to talk about pizza and donuts. This is what I call it. I have had so many times in my life where I have wanted some pizza and I say to my employee, okay, I want you to go get me some pizza. Here's the information you need. This is the pizza shop I want it from. Here's how much money you're probably going to need. And they're like, great. Okay, I'm going to go get you some pizza. We're both on the same page. And then they go and they bring me back donuts. And I'm like, where's the pizza? And they're like, it's right here. I'm like, that's not pizza. And they're like, this is pizza. And what happened is, in terms of project management, what happens is sometimes you hand somebody a project, you explain all the details, you feel like you've given them everything, and then you set them free. You know that they're going to ask you the right questions if they need to know. And then they come back and you have just wasted a week because what they brought you back is nothing at all what you envisioned it would be. I definitely struggled with that a lot. And so I have really, it's a frustrating problem to have. And that comes from a couple different things, I think. One is that when you're a visionary or when you're a builder, when you're always looking forward, you see things bigger picture and you forget about the basic steps beforehand. I was talking to my friend today about this. We were talking about project management. And a lot of times when you're thinking big picture, it's hard to break things down. We make assumptions about what people understand and what we think they're going to be like. You'll know that's basic. To me, it might seem basic. To them, they still need to know the information. But when we get to know too much in our head, just like with anything, it's hard to remember what it was like when you're starting at the beginning. So my system that I've created, I think is brilliantly simple, and it's brilliant in its simplicity because it doesn't require any skill from you. If you are the business owner, it doesn't require a lot of work from you. My way of building systems is always to take as much work off of the business owner's shoulders and put it onto the assistant's shoulders, and then to have ways that you can transparently see that they either get it or they don't. And it's trust building, but at the quickest level. So if you are going to be doing a project, first of all, I have a list of questions that I want somebody like, so I read from a list of questions and I make a Loom video and I'm going to talk it out. One thing I've also learned about me and probably a lot of other people is it's really hard to start with a blank piece of paper. It's really easy when somebody brings you something that's already done to see all the holes in it, right? And the other part, I'm not going to discuss AI in this conversation. AI has a lot to bring to the table here. But after being in AI world, studying it, going to the conferences, I'm very much aware of what the capabilities of AI are right now. I also know that I still need thinkers around me. And when you're letting people just use AI and bring together project management things for you or whatever it might be, they're not using their brain, and I need people to use their brain still. So I want thinkers around me, but I teach them how to properly use AI in these projects. You know, we have different bots that we use and things like that, or that we create even. But going back, let's pretend that AI does not exist in this world as it did not when I created the system. You're going to make a video, you're going to record it, you're going to say all of your thoughts about it. And as you start talking, if you're anything like me, you're going to start to remember details and you'll just keep talking it out. You're going to just brain dump essentially. You can also write it if you want, but the reason I like talking is because ultimately we learn with all of our senses. We learn by watching, we learn by listening, we learn by writing and doing. And so there's so many different things. And I want to make sure that we are giving people all the opportunities to use their senses to really own the information that they're getting. So when you answer all these questions of like, what's the project name? What's the outcome going to be? What are the non-negotiables? When do you want this done by? What tools or resources are they going to need to do this? Do they have a budget? Don't they have a budget? Like basic questions about projects. Are there metrics that need to be met? Are there things that you don't want included? Once you've read through that list, they're going to take that and they're taking that same list and they're going to listen to this Loom. They're going to write down what you said, but in the form. Now, AI can do this, but again, AI doesn't exist. We're talking about a human right now. We want them to really own the information. We want them to write down on the project management sheet all of the information you just gave them, and they will give it back to you. And you're going to read that and you're going to see every hole and all the things you missed and all the context you missed talking about, all of the things that you were like, oh, I should have told them about this piece over here. They're going to have to work with this person on this part of it. And it allows you to continue to get this out of your brain. I remember the first time that I did this, I had taken a 20-hour course on holiday lights, I think it was. And at the time, delegation was still really hard. Even though I'd been delegating for years, I just found it hard. It's not like I like to do things. And I realized at that time, like, oh, I can have my assistant take all of this class with I just did. She can take it, learn all the things. And then she helped me to create the training systems for our team based on those videos. If I had taken ownership over the information and not realized she's smart, she can watch the videos too, I would have been taking the information I learned. Then, like, we never remember everything. So we dumb it down a little bit more. And then she would put it, and it would just become more work for me. And eventually I would have just done it myself, you know? But when you do it this way, when you have a project that you know what you want, you're going to get to the point eventually where you both are going to be on the exact same page. They're going to know exactly what you want. You're going to know and trust that they know exactly what you want. I did this with my team in the Philippines back in December last year. And I was shocked by how far off some of us were in our understanding of the projects. And you have to remember, sometimes people are like, yep, I get it, because they have internal things where they don't want to feel stupid. Or sometimes they're asking, they might think differently than you and understand you in a different way. Like I always talk about Matt as my husband as my example. He speaks American English, I speak American English, but he speaks male American English and I speak female American English. And I would like us to be here. And it feels like we're usually around here. Like we are never quite on the same page. Even when we are on the same page, oftentimes we are going all over the place to get to the same page in the end, which is exhausting, but because we communicate so differently. And that happens in work relationships as well. Except, I'm married to Matt forever. If when you have a great employee, but your communication, like the way you communicate might be different, this is one of the ways that you can make sure that difference doesn't end up, like basically end up making them look like they don't know what they're doing, or it ends up being a problem. But that's basic project management. And if you want my project management sheet, I actually have one that I give to our clients. I'd be happy to share it with you. Just write project management in the comments or however one does it, and I will figure out how to make that happen, because I am taking imperfect action. I am just doing things, and this is my day 2 of my lives. And I bet you I'm going to get better as I go along, because I'm a little rusty. It's been a while. And I think what I'm trying to do is answer as many questions about executive support as I can, because I want to not just, I would love to work with people, but I can't work with everybody. Some people, like I eventually would love to find the ideal kinds of clients, which are very emotionally intelligent, growth-minded people who want the support and are willing to do some internal work to be able to do that, to get there. That's the kind of client I'm looking for with Melody Manager. But I want everybody to be able to be successful. And some people might not be able to afford us yet. I still want to be able to support you with your growth as a leader, as a delegator, and hopefully this is helpful. Let me know what you think in the comments. The end. Thank you so much.